I'm basking in the glory of this electric fan at the moment, my dears, but don't worry, I'm going to turn it off in just a second so it won't bother you. You know, I adore the old-fashioned way, I really do, but they can't really compete with the electric version, can they? Oh, lovely, just beautiful, but it's going to ruin my peonies because they've started molting the old peony weonies. They're very flirtatious, aren't they, these things? They erupt in a sort of one-night stand overnight of glory, spreading their petals. Very blousy creatures they are. Little tarts. Pretty little tarts. And then they ejaculate. I think I captured them ejaculating in a previous video, and I showed you at the end of the video in slow motion how they ejaculated. Well, I woke up, they'd ejaculated all over my sideboard, so there I was, clearing up all their mess this morning, but they do look rather lovely, don't they? I think this is the final day that they're going to be looking so beautiful, though. But I'm making the most of the peonies, or the peonies, as I love to say. Right, okay, I'm going to turn this fan off. You'll have to excuse me if the fan noise returns and it comes back on. And also, there's roadworks going on all around me this week and next week, I think, so apologies in advance. Well, the things I do for you, my dears, scuttled down to the old charity shop this morning because I was determined to find something in coral, and I have got a couple of coral numbers, but they're not very classy, to be honest with you, dear. So I wanted to see if I could find something else to pair with what our darling Kate wore last night, yesterday afternoon, or was it the day before? Anyway, sometime this week. She was in coral, wasn't she? Which is a very controversial colour. And it was more on the pinky side of coral, which I think is what made me fall absolutely in love with it. I absolutely adored what she wore. Sometimes coral can be more on the jaundice version, can't it, my dear? A sort of yellowy jaundice version of coral, which ain't so appealing. And one can't help but compare it to, it brings up visions of the 70s, doesn't it? But not necessarily the most desirable side of the 70s. More along the lines of, I don't know, George and Mildred, Abigail's Party. So it's not always especially popular, but look, I walked into a charity shop. I got a few finds actually, which I'll share with you either today or at some point this week, and there it was, my dear. It was one of the first things I saw when I walked in. Coral! Unfortunately, as you can see, it's reading pink on camera, so sorry about that, my dears, but I promise you it is coral. And I know that short sleeves aren't very royal, but I'm going to be, this is the season when I start getting grumpy, and this is the first season where I thought I'm going to start glowing soon because I've got a light on me here and it's hot. It's hot. So that never lasts very long in England anyway, but this is the grumpy season for me. Before we take a peek at Catherine's stunning coat dress at the garden party, we have other matters to discuss, don't we? The Harkles. Now, if you're a regular viewer of this channel, if you're one of my fruit crumbles, you will know that over the past few weeks, going back some time, I've been telling you that we are to be looking out for an orchestrated movement of all of the Harkles merchings and besmirchings. What I've told you on several occasions is that the reason you're seeing a lot of this quiet, apart from the fact they've dumped projects such as Pearl, apart from that fact is that they are waiting for Harry's memoir. That is the guaranteed bestseller. Yes, it will. Yes, it will be a bestseller. The thirst and the appetite for the inside story of the palace, especially when ghostwritten with such an expert, in tandem with Harry's recollections. I'm telling you, my dear, it's going to be big stuff towards the end of the year, and now the headlines are coming out to confirm the whispers that I was telling you. NETLFIX, according to reports published today, are on their case, saying, no, we're not waiting till next year. We want this new series with you. And the other point I've been making to you, which is now coming to light in the press today, is that Heart of Invictus, as worthy as it is, ain't gonna capture the imagination, ain't gonna pull in the masses. That's not what people want. That is not drama. That's not conflict. That is not royal gossip. And the only thing, in my opinion, that's going to save their skin when it comes to this apparent $100 million contract with NETLFIX is the drama, is the tea, my dear. No one gives a crap about anything else. They say that Harry and Meghan are wanting more time, trying to push it back to next year, but they're saying, no, my dears. We want it to come out in tandem with the book. It all revolves around the hype of the book that comes in the wake of Her Majesty's Jubilee, riding on her coattails. For legal reasons, I will make it clear that I'm just reporting what all the papers are saying today with regards to an article that came out on a website or publication called Page 6, who say that they spoke to a producer in the know, who told them that as well as Heart of Invictus, there will be a docuseries. The papers are saying that it's in the style of the Kardashians, At Home with the Kardashians, but this time it's at home at the Casa Montecito. No confirmation whether the little bands will be involved. I would imagine not, but who knows? Who knows what they're being forced into? As I told you, my dear, scrambling. Scrambled Meg's on toe she is at the moment, and they need to do what they need to do to protect their brand. So they're lining themselves up with the Jubilee to keep that little element of royalty associated with them, which is so naff. And then the second part of it, of course, is to hang everything on Harry's memoir. And I'm sure that Meghan will probably be hanging a few more of her little tchotchke projects on top of that as well, because it's the only way that they're going to get any attention and be taken in any way seriously as an influence. But if this turns out to be true, that there's this alleged docu-series, and especially if it's in the vein of a sort of reality show, Kardashian-esque, I mean, it just appalls me, the fact that we're going to sit there watching that and then the credits run, Duke and Duchess of Sussex. I mean, there's only one day that you will ever find me accepting such a situation, and that will be on a freezing, icy, frosty, gelid, toe-curlingly cold day in Lucifer's hell. And I've got to address more mucky business that's been coming out before we get on to more pleasant things, my dear. The comments began coming through, asking me if I'd seen the headlines that Catherine and William broke up. I got quite a few of these comments through, and of course I knew immediately that it was sophistry. And I've got to urge some of you, my dears, and I'm speaking to only a small number of you, but I know that a fair number of you believe these articles that come out. Firstly, I mean, they're watertight, their relationship's watertight. Secondly, if it was to spring a leak and there were problems coming out, you wouldn't find out through MSN or some far-flung website of the Mediterranean. No, my dear, there would be an official account and an official statement. Rumours began emanating, apparently, this is what's reported, from the French website, this made me chuckle, Oh My Mag. And I had to do a double take because I wasn't wearing my glasses at the time. But when I Googled it, it said, Oh My Mag, find your voice was the strapline. I thought, is this Meghan's website, Oh My Meg? I thought it could have been Oh My Meg, find your voice with Meghan Markle. It could have been her new version of, Goopy. No, that's the Paltrow woman. The Tig Tag. The Tig could be Oh My Meg. But no, it's some other French website. Apparently they published this story erroneously. And then MSN, who I've never trusted, recounted or retweeted, reposted this story, and it went absolutely viral. It alleged that they've separated and the Duchess of Cambridge moved out and took the 3 kids with her. Yeah, I'll just move out and take the heir to the throne. Apparently in with the Middleton in-laws. And then it was interesting, it was Newsweek, who are no friends of the Cambridges, are they, my dear? Very pro-Harkle, but it was Newsweek who spoke with the publisher, the French publisher, Groupe Cerise. And a spokesperson told Newsweek, this story is indeed false and has been published by accident. Really? Really? Some accident. We are taking it down momentarily. So it remains unclear who exactly published this story first, but MSN seems to have published a version of their French story and translated it into English. And additionally, they tweeted, Prince William and Kate Middleton separate as Duchess moves out with children. The story said that somebody at the palace, presumably listening at the wall with a glass to the air, said they heard heated discussions. And apparently Kate said, maybe marrying you was a mistake. I mean, I gotta ask you, my dear, who takes this kind of thing seriously? I do want to urge you to check your sources. I mean, I make no bones about the fact that I'm not here to educate you. I'm just here to sip tea and share gossip with you, my dear. So I don't claim to be some kind of authority. I just happen to have very good connections and a good brain. But there are, for every publication you look at their history. I mean, it shouldn't be too difficult. I often talk about the tabloid press here, and I read some of the articles that come out in the tabloid press, and I take a lot of it with a pinch of salt. But occasionally let's say something like the Mirror, cheap tabloid, full of hyperbole, full of sophistry, full of drama, conflict, you don't take it that seriously, but they do have a history for breaking real stories a lot of the time, where there's smoke, there's fire kind of thing. And they have been proven right with some, so occasionally they will get it right. Whereas I know that the Daily Express will never get anything right. And they will write on the same day 2 stories that entirely contradict each other. I mean, I just squirm to think who actually goes out in the UK and purchases a copy of the Daily Express. It is absolute bullshit to the highest degree, and there's never any grain of truth in anything they say. You have to start doing this kind of discernment, my dears. And I'm not even going to go down the route of conspiracy theories. I have to remind myself on a daily basis that 99% of my audience are sane. And and I mean, a lot of you watch and don't comment. You're a lurker. Like me, I don't comment on any YouTube channels. I just watch, and most of you are like that. But thankfully, I do have many of you that give me lovely, juicy comments and make the comment section lively and wonderful and full of opposing views, which is how I like it. But you do get the conspiracy theorists come through, and I have to remind myself that not everyone can be duped into believing that the Harkle children don't exist, or that the Queen is a hologram and she died years ago and she's being some body double's being trotted out. I actually get this seriously in the comments, and it's been an education to me. Wasn't she absolutely heavenly at the garden party? Absolutely heavenly. We had Catherine, we had the Earl of Wessex, looking very handsome. I love seeing him in his topper. He is going on me more and more, that guy. He really is. And I quite fancy him. He's lovely. He and Sophie, she's just gorgeous. A handsome woman. And I love she has a sort of signature, well, it's not a signature look, but she often wears those whites, doesn't she, with the florals, and that looks so nice on her. They were lovely. And after they stood there for God Save the Queen, and they went to meet their guests down the steps, then they were joined by Princess Alexandra at 85 years old, still doing her bit, and she looked so royal. She really did. I love the gloves. I love gloves on a royal. In fact, I would like to see Catherine a little more in gloves. I know it's going to be very unfashionable, but they have to go around shaking the hands with so much of the hoi polloi. I'm surprised they don't come down with COVID more often and everything else. And I don't really want everyone's grubby paws on them. I just don't. I would wear gloves if I had to touch that much of the population all the time. Because not everybody washes their hands when they should do. And that's just a known fact. And I don't want them touching the royal mitts, you know what I mean? So bring some gloves back occasionally. I think it's royal. And I think Princess Alexandra looked heavenly as well in her pale pink, so gorgeous. And that lovely satiny polka dot skirt, lovely. And the pearl choker was heavenly, and the lovely hat. So royal. Oh, I can hear the roadworks going off. So if there's a buzz, well, you just have to try and enjoy it, my dears. There were 8,000 guests, and they had the luck of good weather. Can you see how the weather can make or break? We saw them all with brollies the other day at a garden party, but it does help when there's some shine, and you get all extremes in the same week here sometimes. So they had lovely weather. I really do hope we're going to be blessed with great weather for the Jubilee, don't you, my dears? Like it was at the Harkle wedding. It was rather overcast at the Cambridges wedding. And remember the Diamond Jubilee, where there was just downpours. We saw the Queen and Philip going down the Thames or up the Thames, whichever way it was. In the rain, it was... I mean, it didn't dampen the celebrations entirely. It was still a big do and very well received, but I think everyone would have preferred it if there was a bit of sunshine and not quite so damp, don't you? So it was nice to see some sun. And they met representatives from various charities. And Catherine was praised by Caro Howell, or Hewell, depending on how she pronounces it. From the Foundling Museum, she said, "Kate's remarkable. She meets so many people and has such an astute memory. She met young adults on our training program who grew up in care in January and asked after them all. Her concern is in this intersection between care, homelessness and mental health, and she understands the challenges for these young people expected to go out into the world at 18 with no support. It's not just care she has, it's an active, intelligent empathy. Isn't that lovely? High praise, high praise. That coat dress she was wearing was one of my favourites of the year, in the top 3. I loved it. And no, I'm not usually one for that colour, but as I said to one of you in the comments, I just adored it. It looks so good on her. She's worn that design before. She's done that dress in a few different colours. I think she's done blue, green, yellow. By Amelia Wickstead it is. And the tailoring. It's the tailoring that makes that colour acceptable, I think. Just beautifully cut. And what I really loved about it were the shoes. They were the perfect shoes in a sort of dusky, icy, pinky suede by the look of it. I thought they were beautiful trotters. I did let out a small sigh of frustration though, I've got to tell you, because when I look at these photographs, you can't help but see this ocean of cameras in your face. Must be so intimidating for the royals. I'm sure they're used to it now, but taking photos, videos, all of them doing it. It makes me sad, because one of my favourite things to do is look back at photographs and videos on YouTube are wonderful, going back many decades, sometimes to the early 1900s and beforehand, of public gatherings where everyone was fascinated by the one person who was taking the video footage. They all sort of stand there and stare and smile. They can't believe that their image is being captured on celluloid or whatever it was on film for all time. They probably won't ever get to see it. They certainly didn't know that we'd be viewing it 100 years later on YouTube, but it was such a novelty for them. And now it's so depressing to think that all these historical photographs that you see of the royals, where once you'd see them all looking nicely at the royals, being present, seeing what's going on, now all you see in the crowd is this sea of gadgets with lenses. Looking, but not looking. Observing, but through some mechanism. Just a little bit depressing. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I just found that a little bit depressing for the posterity of it, And the Wessexes met various representatives, including from the ballet and the London College of Fashion, creatives, women in business, meningitis now, all these various charities. It's work, work, work. One of the things I'm delighted with is that some of you are very avid royal watchers. Many of you know a lot more than me about what goes on with their diary, this kind of thing. But I also had newbies and casual listeners that have come along and hopped onto this river train. And you tell me in the comments every day that you found it so enlightening, as have I, to take a real look at what they get up to. Because, so many people think that they don't do anything. They just sort of glide about in castles and palaces, drinking tea, not doing much, shouting off with their head occasionally, appearing at premieres. It's evident to us, and as I've tried to illustrate to you, that they work. They are a service. They are doing their duty 24/7 almost. They live and breathe this service, this life of royalty to our nation as ambassadors. Not just for a year, not just for a term, for life. And that is why I think they're tremendous value for money. I don't care what anyone says. Lovely to see the crowds enjoying cups of tea and cake, oh so dainty, dainty. Actually, I had tea and cake with a friend of mine this morning, a neighbour. We got some stuff from Marks and Sparks. Platinum fever's beginning to erupt everywhere on the high street. It's quite exciting to see little stands popping up in all the department stores, supermarkets. They all have platinum spreads, platinum promotions. The charity shops that I go to have lovely little displays in the window. Red, white and blue, bunting, little tankards and little souvenirs and memorabilia of the royal family all being promoted. It's really lovely. And I mentioned before that John Lewis have got some platinum related stuff, and Marks and Spencer have some as well. But I did treat myself to a collection of corgis. They have some very whimsical items, which is really good for the Jubilee. And this collection of corgis, solid milk chocolate. My thinking was that they're small enough to be a nice little treat, but I won't be able to overindulge too much, but I thought they were really rather fun. This cake was a little bit more naughty, and my friend and I enjoyed a slice each this morning, but I've been left with the rest of it. Oh dear. And that buttercream is quite addictive, you know, quite addictive. And it's got sort of strawberry elements to it as well, dried strawberries and the jam sponge. Very nice, very summery tasting, and I've got to be very careful not to make myself sick by having extra slices. Thank you for joining me, my dears, to sip the tea. I would send you a slice of cake too if I could buy fruits, I really would, but I hope you find something sweet to enjoy yourself. If I made you blush with my coral, consider sending a tip to my tip jar below. And if I didn't, well, Yahoo sucks to you. And I will see you in the next broadcast. Lots of love to you all. Stay royal, won't you, my dears? And toodle pip.